Hello, I'm Sara Alicia Cavaiuolo. It's a great name. It's hard to put on forms. I'm a second going into third year student at VCA studying photography. And over lockdown, or at least Adelaide lockdown, which is tiny comparatively, I made a series of turmeric anthotypes using the Tasty Spice borax, which is a laundry detergent cleaning thing. And yeah, it's been interesting kind of exploring, I guess, trying to figure out how to maintain the physicality in images, especially in analog images, when you don't have access to a darkroom, and kind of scrambling, figuring out how do I do this? So I came across a article by a guy named Stephen Appleyard. He's amazing. I think he lives in WA, about teaching children how to learn about photophysics by making these very simple anthotypes. And I thought it was interesting as an alternative process because it was very easy to get into. A lot of alternative processes, from what I've gathered, require more chemistry knowledge and safety precautions than I know what to do with. So I like the idea that it was so simple that you could just play around with it. The other interesting thing about these anthotypes is that they are unfixed. So over time, probably maybe a month or two, they will all go to a burnt black brown. And I think the idea of something slowly fading away as everyone's thinking, wow, all of what I thought everything was going to be like is slowly fading away is nice. So Paper Glass, isn't that a great title? Oh, it's a series of 5 anthotypes. When I was in the process of experimenting with the medium, I had noticed how both sides of the paper looked quite interesting. And so I wanted to create something that felt like it could be held, and that could be viewed from any orientation, which is something that was very new to me, especially trying to explore kind of elements of collage and stuff I'd never done before. So the final anthotypes use a mix of wet process and photogram and transparencies to make a sort of strange image. I'm not sure, but I like it. So the long parts going down are photos of different windows, windows in my house, in my grandmother's houses. And when I was shooting them, I nudged the camera up and down, kind of trying to convey the sense that the camera can move, but the door can't. And it was like, the door's never going to move. The window's there, you can see, but you can't do anything. And this idea of there being like an invisible kind of barrier, I was really thinking about. So I tried to arrange them like they were film stills. I'm not sure if it worked. And then the round circles are different snow globes. The same thing, it's this little thing that you can see in but can't see out of. And as soon as you open it, it all breaks. And yeah, I was feeling a lot like that. I think a lot of people were. Hopefully we will not be feeling like that in the future. Yeah, ideally, people could hold the works and feel the kind of rough texture coming off of them and the turmeric powder staining their fingertips. I like the idea of kind of breaking that boundary between art and not being able to touch it. So making something that could be held and looked at on a table was interesting. I think they took on average, I think it took a couple hours. Some of them took, I think they took about 2 to 3 hours. It took me a while to figure out. You can probably see some of them are a bit darker because I kept on forgetting that it was a positive process.
Yeah.
And, I was thinking, oh, it's like a negative process, so I leave it for a shorter time. And I went, oh no, I have to really blast the sun.
Yeah.
And I was doing them on the front lawn. And so people would walk past with their dogs and just look at me like, what is this table with all these little things on it? What are you doing? A lot of it was just kind of letting go a bit and being able to experiment. I don't normally have that kind of fun, especially with like analog processes. It's normally like, all right, being very exact. And that's really great also. But I think going, okay, we'll just do what we want. And it's interesting. Is a positive process where you create a photographic exposure from a naturally derived ink. Is that right? You better tell me if I'm wrong. So in this case, we're using turmeric from the turmeric root. You can also make ones using beetroot or cabbage, from what I've heard. They're difficult to fix because I haven't tried, to be honest, but I know that the only way you could probably preserve one is if you put it with like UV 99 glass or something. And that is expensive. Yeah, I was just really missing the darkroom. I was so revved up to try, I just bought like a pack of large format black and white film, which is now like stewing in the fridge. I was really excited to try using it for the first time. I thought, there's this sense like I kept on wanting to go bigger and bigger with printing. I think it's like a bit of an ego thing, but as soon as you figure out, oh, you can print bigger, oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna like see. And so I was kind of frustrated at how having so many restrictions and working from home, all the art I could make felt very small. And it felt like I was making arts and crafts, and I love crafts, but it kind of kicked the wind out of me. So I was thinking, well, how do I make something big that feels just heavy and feels substantial, like physically? And I thought about other alternative processes. I've almost tried agrotypes, but anything with too many steps required too many trays and too much with hands and gloves. And I thought, no, I need something I can just finish just by spraying with a spray bottle and brushing with a paintbrush. So that was why I chose a very simple process to get that length. I think when I started thinking about photography in a fine art way, I was very kind of precious, I think, because a lot of people are. And I really was like very possessive over images, and I wanted everything to be the best and I set like these kind of rules for myself. And so I guess I was trying to break those rules down a bit. There's so much onus on being archival and everything being held with cotton gloves and stuff. And I really, fall into that. I love that. And so I was thinking, well, how do I challenge that in myself, and will I like it? And maybe I think there's something interesting about it being a bit dangerous and knowing that like going through all that effort and knowing that effort can still end. And I think there's something nice about that. Like, yeah, just learning to slowly break down those kind of barriers. I tried to arrange them so at least one was shown from the back. They have this violent yellow from the underside, which is really interesting, contrasted from the really sort of somber kind of earth tones on the front. And I think it's interesting having that duality. Like when I was showing friends, there'd be arguments about which side they liked more. Like some would say, I like that one. Some would say, no, the other one. I thought I kind of like that. And I was trying to put as many layers as possible, you know, photographing windows and then putting a pane of glass over that window and then putting more metho in to make little gusts. Yeah, like something you can't quite get into, but you want to. And sort of, I think that's interesting with a really matte print as well, because it's not something I've really tried before. Normally when you think of matte, it's very surface. So like trying to layer as many surfaces as possible and seeing if it makes depth just out of only surface was interesting. How are people viewing them? Keep on walking past every week. New things will occur. It's like watching paint dry, but it's art, watching art dry and with it. So you need to keep on coming back, and you have to. And if you don't, you're not seeing the whole work. So what are you even doing?